Chapter 41, Nature is hard to change. On the elevated road, several ninjas in black clothes were seen jumping on the roofs of passing cars, chasing a ninja in red clothes. Although he couldn't see the face of the red-clothed ninja, Tony was sure that she was a woman and was injured. After all, with that curvy gore, you can tell at a glance that she's not that bad. Thinking of this, he immediately hugged the metal suitcase in his arms tightly. Here is the Mark V. Is Sakura country so chaotic? There's thing going on in broad daylight. Upon hearing this, Ando Miku, who was standing next to her, immediately spoke up to defend her country. Not really. Normally everything is very peaceful. I don't know what happened today. I think some major accident happened. They are members of the Hand, and are a very powerful force in Sakura country. Wait. Please don't get out of the car, Mr. Stark. The red ninja not far away seemed to be exhausted. He lost his balance and fell to the ground, while the black ninjas around him immediately surrounded him. Seeing this, Tony immediately opened the car door. With a series of ding-dong sounds, Mark V started up. Soon, the red and white Iron Man appeared. Wait for me in the car. As he finished speaking, he ew in front of the red ninja, then raised his hand and pointed it at the other black ninjas. Hey guys, I don't know what grudges you have, but it's not gentlemanly for so many people to bully a girl. Seeing the Iron Man suddenly appear in front of them, the surrounding ninjas looked at each other, not knowing who the other person was. After some eye contact, the leading ninja nodded and threw the shuriken. The shuriken that was blessed with the power of Black Sky nailed Tony to his armor before he could even react, making a crisp ding-ding sound. However, although the Mark V is thinner than the Mark IV, it is still not something that these ordinary ninjas can pierce. Seeing that the captain's shurikens could not penetrate the armor, several black-clad ninjas silently retracted their shurikens and tightened their katana. The ninja captain took a step forward, looked earnestly at the red ninja behind Tony, then looked up at Tony. Who are you? Why are you interfering in the affairs of our Hand? Listening to the other party's poor Mexican, Tony immediately asked Jarvis to check what the Hand was. However, as the Shikai is a secret organization in Sakura country, there is not much information about it on the internet. Apart from knowing that it was a ninja organization that was proficient in assassination and intelligence gathering, Jarvis didn't end out anything. So Tony immediately understood what was going on. Just a bunch of shameful guys. Get out of here. Idiot. Hearing the other party being so arrogant, the ninja captain couldn't help it anymore. But just when he was being attacked, he saw Ando Miku jogging towards him. Everyone, this is Mr. Tony Stark, the major shareholder of our Stark Enterprises. Please give us at Stark Enterprises some face and leave now, how about that? When he heard Tony's name, Captain Ninja broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, the opponent's armor was strong and was not penetrated by my bullets, otherwise I would have to run for my life. Just hand over that woman and we'll leave right away. Although he was afraid of Tony Stark's reputation, the mission still had to be completed. In response to the other party's request, Tony immediately raised his hand, and the light in his palm lit up. One last time, get out. Just when the atmosphere was extremely tense, the ninja captain's cell phone suddenly rang. Seeing the incoming call, his expression suddenly changed, revealing a respectful look. Chief, hi, hi, hi. After nodding and bowing for a while, he put down his phone and returned to his stern look. Our leader said that for Obadiah's sake, he will let you go. Let's go. Seeing the other party leave, Ando Mayun breathed a sigh of relief and patted her large chest. Mr. Stark, that was too dangerous. Please don't be so reckless next time. Tony ignored the other party and turned to look at the red-clad female ninja behind him. Are you okay? The female ninja noticed Tony's gaze and immediately covered her cut collar to hide her huge chest. Thank you Mr. Stark, my name is Erica. Hearing the name, Ando Mayun immediately grabbed Tony's arm nervously. Mr. Stark, I think you need to stay away from this woman. Because she was expelled from the Holy Order, she killed her master with her own hands, and later betrayed the Hand. After fleeing to the United States, he became Jinbing's killer and later disappeared. I didn't expect to come to the land of cherry blossoms. Tony looked at Endo Miku beside him. It seems that the person Jarvis inadvertently arranged knew more than he imagined. But he is a free-spirited person and naturally doesn't care about these things. If you don't mind, come with me. After saying that, Tony didn't pay much attention to Erica, but returned to his car. He just stood up out of a desire to stand up for justice, and it was none of his business whether the other party lived or died in the future. Erica, who was in the driveway, saw this and after hesitating for a moment, she followed. In the Umbrella Building in New York, USA. Master, everything went according to plan. Tony has contacted Erica. Li Feng was sitting in the boss chair thinking. When he heard what Hong Ho said, he smiled slightly. That's right. As the saying goes, it's hard to change a person's nature. Tony still can't walk when he sees a beautiful woman. Next, let Erica continue to guide Tony. Yes, Master. After ending this little episode, Li Feng continued to look at the document in front of him. It's about cooperation with the Northern Bear Country. At present, the Northern Bear Country has made a lot of concessions and agreed to provide a vacant land of 10 kilometers squared, which will be fully arranged by Umbrella, including security personnel and guards. In addition, a 90% tax reduction was given in the RSTVE years. The only requirement is that the position must employ more than 1,000 people. The reason why the Northern Bear Country offers such a great preferential treatment is that once Umbrella establishes a branch in the Northern Bear Country, it will at least drive the upstream and downstream industries of tens of thousands of people in the surrounding area, and also have economic effects. However, the United States has always been on high alert against the Northern Bear Country. If I agree to open a branch there, it will probably make many people angry. After all, he did not allow Umbrella to go public, preventing those people from interfering, and some people were already very wary of him. If I cooperate with the Northern Bear Country again now, I will inevitably be attacked for this reason. It seems that we must keep the US government busy and win over more congressmen so that they will not cause trouble for us. After thinking for a long time, a plan came to my mind. Li Feng said in a low voice, Red Queen, create a new LE. Resident Evil. Chapter 42 Biohazard. 3 days later. The country of cherry blossoms, Kyushu Island. As we enter September, the weather starts to get cooler and thunderstorms become more frequent. Rumble. A ash of lightning appeared, illuminating an abandoned warehouse more than 10 kilometers away in Nagasaki Prefecture. There were a dozen or so people in shabby clothes lying together in the warehouse for warmth. When will this damn rain end? The complaining man was probably in his 20s, with messy hair that seemed to have not been washed for a long time, and his clothes were tattered with many leaks. From the holes on the arm, you can see many traces of needle holes. A shabbier man next to him couldn't help but say, rain is better than a typhoon. If it continues for a while, I don't know how I'm going to get through it. Upon hearing this, other homeless people around also started to speak. Yeah, this weather is either a typhoon or rain. If this typhoon comes, I don't think we can hold out here for long. How about we reinforce this place? Do you repair it? That's it? The reason why they become homeless is naturally because of laziness. After all, the economy of the Sakura country ranks third in the world. As long as you are willing to work hard, you will not end up on the streets. Of course, there are people who choose to become homeless because of bankruptcy, but they are decidedly not them. Woo-oh. At this time, the sound of a plane ying by was heard in the sky. Those white pigs are ying planes again. These planes fly around every day, and it's so noisy. Why are the Gder jets from the nearby Sasebo Fleet Base so frequently deployed recently? It seems that it's because Longguo has been quite active recently. After chatting for a while, everyone returned to the previous topic. The man who complained RST now had a cold look in his eyes. If it doesn't work, we can only ND another kind family to stay with. The other party's proposal was immediately agreed by the majority. Want to stay overnight? That's a good idea. But be careful. You almost got caught last time. This time, I must choose a kind person with many women. Haha. Just as everyone was laughing, there was a knock on the door. Dong dong. So everyone immediately quieted down. Who? Salesman. Hearing this, everyone immediately showed a greedy look and hurried to the door. After opening the door, a man in a windbreaker can be seen outside. I haven't been here for a long time. What good things do you have today? Yes, take it out and let us see it quickly. But RST, the price must be cheap and it must be pure. Yes, yes, there are so many of us, please don't cheat us. The man in the windbreaker smiled slightly, opened his windbreaker, and revealed a bottle with a green test tube inside. This time it's new, high-purity stuff. Because the boss wants to open up the market for new stuff. We're giving you the lowest price, 1,000 per piece. When they heard that it only cost 1,000, everyone was excited. But also looked puzzled. After all, 1,000 Sakura yuan is equal to about 6 Mi yuan, which is a really cheap price. 1,000? Are you sure this thing will work? Yeah, don't draw out the question. If it's not pure, we don't want it. And the color doesn't feel right. Facing the crowd's difficulties, the man in the windbreaker just said coldly, I have goods worth 10,000, can you afford it? Hearing this, everyone suddenly became quiet. At this time, a man who was trembling slightly all over and was obviously addicted to drugs came over. With money. Give me one, I want it. For them, life is nothing and it is not as important as drugs. They will die today or tomorrow, so what? Matters is to have a good time before they die. After a while, the man took the green test tube, picked up the syringe and drew it without hesitation. Then raised his arm. It can be seen that this arm is already densely covered with pinholes. After thinking about it, the man put his hand down and aimed at his neck. Oh ah! As the green liquid slowly entered his body, the man immediately began to groan. Seeing this, others immediately took out money. Give me one. I want one too. Give it to me RST. 10 minutes later. The man in the windbreaker looked at the group of homeless people lying on the ground enjoying themselves, and suddenly revealed a ferocious smile. Then he left the abandoned warehouse and headed for the next selling point. Rumble. There were bursts of thunder in the sky. And the rain became even heavier. After half an hour, through the occasional ashes of light from lightning, a man could be seen opening his bright red eyes. Hungry. An inhuman low roar came from the other party's mouth. The next morning, Tokyo, in a VE-Star hotel. Tony was awakened by a knock on the door. Who? It's me, Erica. Tony woke up immediately after hearing the voice. Wait for me. After changing clothes, he opened the door. I saw a beautiful woman with long black hair standing outside the door. This time Erica didn't wear a mask, so you could see her tight face and delicate skin. The red tights stick to her body, showing her curvy gore and long thighs. And at the waist, there are two tridents unique to ninjas. Mr. Stark, I brought you the information you requested. We are even now. After she finished speaking, she put down the documents in her hand. Watching the other person walk away, Tony opened the document in his hand and looked at it. The more he looked, the more his brows furrowed. Because according to this document, the Umbrella Corporation in Tokyo has sold a lot of things to the Middle East, and the president of the branch, Masanobu Tanagawa, has basically stopped listening to the United States and has very close contacts with a company called Yoshida, and even the hand is involved. This information is largely consistent with the information he stole from Umbrella headquarters, so it seems that there is no misunderstanding. Masanobu Tanagawa, Yoshida Company, the hand, what is their relationship with the bug people? The situation here is becoming more and more complicated. Just as he was thinking, there was a knock on the door again. Mr. Stark, this is an emergency, please open the door. After opening the door, Tony saw Ando Mikumo with an anxious look on her face. A very scary virus has broken out on Kyushu Island. Please return to the United States as soon as possible. Tony was confused when he heard this. What happened? It's hard to explain right now, so you better follow me RST. After saying that, she took Tony's hand and was about to leave. Wait a moment. Tony broke free, went back to the bed, picked up his Mark V suitcase, and then followed Ando Miku downstairs. In the end, what happened? I'm not sure either. A horrible virus broke out on Kyushu Island last night. The infected people will turn into bloodthirsty monsters and bite anyone they see. Those who were bitten were also infected with the virus, and even the US Sasebo fleet base on Kyushu Island fell. Now the Sakura government has blocked Kyushu Island, and no one is allowed to enter or leave. Chapter 43 Iron Man goes out. When Tony got in the car, he understood what had happened. So he immediately asked the driver to stop the car. No, I can't leave, I have to see what this virus is. As a superhero, although he has a playboy and cynical personality, he never lacks justice in his heart. Now that such a horrible virus has broken out on Kyushu Island, he certainly won't just run away like that. Soon, he put on the Mark V armor on the street and due towards Kyushu Island. Mr. Stark. Mr. Stark. Watching Tony ying away, Ando Mayun's face turned slightly cold, and then she took out her cell phone. Boss, Stark has already gone to Kyushu Island. Over Kyushu Island. Tony saw a lot of smoke rising. Apparently, there was a Re on the ground. At the same time, a large number of helicopters were ying in the air, and on the ground there were also a large number of armed forces guarding each checkpoint. The situation on Kyushu Island at this time was extremely chaotic. After looking for a while, Tony discovered those who were infected. Although he is called a human, he is actually almost a monster. They are agile and extremely fast. According to his visual estimation, it would take at least 7 or 8 seconds to travel 100 meters. Moreover, they are extremely powerful, and some of them can even tear a living person apart. It can be said that ordinary people would be almost powerless to GHT back against these monsters if they did not have repower weapons. No, even if we have repower weapons, it may not work. Looking down, Tony saw a wave of hundreds of monsters, rushing towards a level. This is a T-shaped road, and behind the road is the police station. Guarding the checkpoint are a group of police officers. They hid behind police cars and debris, looking at the zombies rushing towards them from a distance. Their hearts LED with fear. Oh my god, so many monsters. What should we do? Woo woo, we're dead. Seeing everyone's morale so low, the director in the crowd knew in his heart that if this continued, the defense line would collapse before the battle even started. So the director, who was in his 40s, raised his pistol and walked out. Everyone, I know you are worried, but behind us are our wives, children, and parents, and the glory and hope of our great Sakura Empire. I will GHT alongside you all here, and I will never retreat even if I die in battle. After saying this, he took the lead and pulled the trigger. Bang. Bang. Unfortunately, the Sakura Country Police generally use the P230 pistol, which has a caliber of only 7.65 millimeters. The bullets cannot kill the zombies at all. Not only are they impossible to kill, it's even difficult to stop the zombies' advance. Seeing the chief taking the lead, the other police officers seemed to be encouraged and began to pull the trigger one after another. Bang. 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 Unfortunately, although we had the courage to GHT, our results were limited. Only some lucky bullets hit the zombies' eyes and blew up their brains, while many other bullets hit their bodies but could not affect the zombies' progress at all. Just as the zombies were getting closer and closer, about to break into the defense line and start killing, a red and white gur dropped from the sky. With a boom, Tony stepped on the two zombies with his feet, and then shot out with the palm cannon in his hand. In an instant, the two zombies' heads were blown off. Mr. Stark, according to analysis, the weak points of these monsters are in the brain and cervical vertebrae. Blast the brain to death, and break the cervical vertebrae to disable the monster. Understood. As he finished speaking, Tony continued to attack the zombies with his palm cannon. Because the Mark V was designed to be light and easy to carry, it was not equipped with many missiles, decoy bombs, armor-piercing shells, and other weapons. His only attack method is the palm cannon. Fortunately, the reactor in his chest is powerful, so it can support him to continuously. When the police officers around saw Iron Man appear, they immediately cheered. Look, this must be military support. Oh my god, has our country already developed robots? Long live the great Sakura Empire. The government will not abandon any of us. Because they mistakenly thought that Iron Man was a robot from the Sakura country, the police upstairs were immediately encouraged and pulled the triggers and changed bullets faster. With Tony's joining, the hundreds of zombies were quickly killed one by one. The director dragged his tired body and came to Tony. "Thank you very much, As the director, he naturally knew that the other party was not a military support or a government upchale, but a superhero passing by. "You're welcome." Tony didn't waste any time. After saying hello, he took off immediately and left here for the next place. In Tony's beach villa in New York, USA. Because of the time difference, it is night here. Pepper, who had just returned home from a social event, threw away her bag and high heels, sat lazily on the sofa, and turned on the TV. According to our reporter, a horrible virus broke out in Sakura country last night. The infected will turn into a bloodthirsty monster and bite anyone they see. Our Congress has opened an emergency meeting to decide whether to send troops to the land of Sakura. CBS reports the latest news to you. 6 months later, it was the day for the presidential election in Sakura country. But just yesterday, a strange virus broke out in Kyushu Island, the land of Sakura. People infected by the virus will turn into a kind of zombie-like creature similar to those in the movies. The United Nations issued an emergency epidemic prevention notice and will suspend all aids to the country of cherry blossoms. Umbrella announced that it will cooperate with the Northern Bear country to establish a new branch. This is a reporter from Sakura country. Here you can see that the Sakura country self-defense forces and our American soldiers have built a quarantine zone on the border of Kyushu Island. This is to prevent the emergence of a kind of terrifying monsters, which are like zombies, they cannot be killed and have a strong ability to spread. I changed several TV stations in a row, but most of them were reporting on the virus incident in the land of Sakura. This made Pepper's expression much more serious. After all, Tony is still in Sakura country. Thinking of this, she immediately made a phone call. Fortunately, the call was connected after just a moment. "Hey Tony, where are you?" "Boom. I'm busy, what's up?" "Da-da-da." Hearing the explosions and gunshots on the other end of the phone, Pepper suddenly became nervous. "Tony, are you okay? Why does it look like there's a war going on over there?" "Oh, Pepper, you may not believe this, but I had an accident here. A zombie-like monster appeared." "So you're getting zombies, right?" "Don't get excited, I'm safe, my armor will protect me." "No, I want you to come back. I want you to come back safely. I have something to do. I won't talk to you anymore. I'll be back later." Pepper was worried when she saw Tony hang up the phone. She knew Tony's character. Stubborn. Just like when they said they would close down the weapons research and development and production department, they just closed it down without considering the consequences. And now she couldn't persuade Tony to come back. After thinking about it, she made another call. "Hey, Professor Charles, I need your help with something." Chapter 44, Opening a New Branch. Although the zombies' strength and speed far exceed those slow zombies in the movies. However, in the face of the suppression of modern repower, the crisis on Kyushu Island did not spread to the entire Sakura country. And with the support of countries around the world, the zombies on Kyushu Island will be eliminated sooner or later. What's more, with the participation of various superheroes, the blow they face against the zombies is even more crushing. However, when the world's attention is focused on Kyushu Island. On the third day, Luna brought the Umbrella team to the city of Khabarovsk in the Northern Bear country. Khabarovsk is the largest city in the far east of the Northern Bear country. It has aircraft manufacturing, fuel industry, wood processing industry, construction and building materials industry, etc. After taking the team around the city of Khabarovsk, Luna chose the mountainous area more than 30 kilometers to the east. The accompanying upchales from the Northern Bear country were very confused about this. "Ms. Luna, why did you choose such a remote place? It is very inconvenient to transport construction materials or recruit workers." Luna smiled. "This is because of the peculiarities of our industry. As a medical and cosmetics industry, we have very high requirements for drainage, and being close to the sea makes it convenient to discharge wastewater. Moreover, the medical industry inevitably involves commercial secrets, so it is better to stay away from them to guard against spies. This is just an excuse. In fact, it was Li Feng's request that it must be a little remote and closer to the sea. Such experiments that are inconvenient to conduct in the United States can now be conducted in the Northern Bear Country. For example, cloning experiments. In fact, there has always been data on cloning technology in Red Queen, but the price of cloning a person is not as much as hiring one, and the subject of cloning has never been recognized by society. In order to avoid giving rise to criticism, Li Feng has never conducted cloning experiments in the United States. But it is different in the sparsely populated Northern Bear Country, and the Northern Bear Country and the United States are sworn enemies. Even if they are discovered, there is still room for maneuver. Although Upchales from the Northern Bear Country were skeptical about Luna's statement, they did not interfere too much as long as the other party was willing to invest in Northern Bear. After all, the economy of the Northern Bear Country has not been very good. It is not easy for an international giant to come and invest, so naturally they will be more tolerant. Next, Luna analyzed the location and started signing the contract. At the same time, in the land of Sakura, over Kyushu Island, a gigantic aircraft carrier is Ying. The appearance of this aircraft carrier is generally similar to that of an aircraft carrier at sea, except that it has 4 engines on both sides to ensure the height of the aircraft carrier. It is the aircraft carrier of SHIELD. At this time, one-eyed Nick was in the command room, staring at the screen in front of him with cold eyes. On the screen, everything happened on Kyushu Island. Since the second day after the zombie crisis broke out, SHIELD and the US Army came to Sakura country together to control the situation. As for why it is the US Army and not the UN Army, it is because as the back garden of the United States, Sakura country naturally does not allow other countries to get involved. What is the current situation? As Deputy Director, Hill immediately began to report the situation. Reporting to Chief Nick, Saga Prefecture and Nagasaki Prefecture have basically cleared out the zombies. The remaining VE prefectures are still being cleared because of the large number of zombies. Nick nodded. Have you found out the origin of the zombie virus? According to a survivor's confession, it was a group of people called the Dark Dog Gang who started the drug trafficking. The Dark Dog Gang? Where did they come from? It's still under investigation, but the Hell Dog Gang is the black glove of the Yashida Company. We suspect that it is related to the Yashida Company. Go and capture the person in charge of Yashida Company. For it. What, is there a problem? The Sakura government has been trying to protect Shinjin Yashida and won't let us arrest anyone. Sakura country. It is true that SHIELD is one of the most powerful forces on the blue planet, but no matter how powerful a force is, it is powerless in the face of the power of a country. What's more, it is one of the top 3 economies in the world. Have you notified the US military? We did notify them, but the US military has always disliked us and ignored our request. Hearing this, Nick's face darkened. After a while, one of the men suddenly reported the situation. Chief Nick, Mr. Stark is back. Nick nodded and looked at Carlson beside him. Carlson immediately understood and quickly left the command room and walked onto the deck. On the deck, some planes could be seen taking off and landing, and at this moment, a red and white gur fell. Welcome back, Mr. Stark. Tony looked at Carlson in front of him and just nodded lightly. I need to take a break and eat something. Ever since S.H.I.E.L.D. failed to show up in time last time, he has had a very bad impression of S.H.I.E.L.D. If he hadn't encountered a ninja assassination the day before yesterday, he wouldn't have come here to rest. After all, without armor, he is actually the same as an ordinary person, and his ability to protect himself is very weak. This way. Carlson was very enthusiastic and took Tony into the deck. While Tony was having lunch, he saw a red-haired beauty pushing a bald man in a wheelchair. It was Charles and Jean. Mr. Stark. Looking at the 2 people in front of him, Tony picked up the bread in his hand and left with them. Carlson was about to go over, but he saw Jean turning around and giving him a cold look. This glance immediately made Carlson stop and he dared not follow. After a while, Tony, Charles, and Jean came to an empty corner. Tony asked RST. "How are things going?" Charles nodded. "Through my continuous memory reading, I discovered that the ninja was sent by the hand on the surface, but in fact, the Yashida company was behind it. As professional intelligence and assassination personnel, ninjas are naturally trained to prevent leaks. But unfortunately, he met Charles who could read memories. Although it took a little more effort, I still found the information I wanted. It's Yashida company again. And I also discovered that this zombie virus seems to have a lot to do with the Yashida company. It seems that Yashida Corporation developed a new type of ecstasy powder, and for some reason, it mutated and zombies appeared. Yes, we found out that it is also related to Yashida company." At this time, Nick came over with Carlson and Black Widow. Hearing this, Tony and the other three looked at them. So Nick continued, "We applied to the Sakura government to arrest the head of the Yashida company, Shinjin Yashida, but were rejected. I'll go to the military." After saying that, Tony started calling his good friend, James. But after a while, he could only hang up the phone with a gloomy face. After all, James was just a lieutenant colonel in the weapons development department and had no way of commanding the Sakura government. Unless you and a general. Chapter 45 Initial Cooperation. Although Tony has some connections with the military, he was too proud, or arrogant, in the past, so his relationship with the military is not very good. In the past, because Tony was the chairman of Stark Enterprises, the military leaders would not make things difficult for him. But now no one cares about him. After asking several generals he knew, Tony got the same answer, "Wait." So the six of them sat in silence in the empty corridor. They didn't expect that the US military would be so inactive. But when I think about it, it seems normal. The Sakura country is a country after all. It is not a place where a few people without any identity can give orders at will. At this moment, Tony felt the importance of power so clearly for the RST time. "Maybe we can ND someone." It was Natasha who spoke, and she turned to look at Tony. Obadiah must have known a certain general. Before she could niche, Tony immediately shook his head in denial. "No way, I won't ask him for help. The last time I went to the other party's house for a banquet, it was just to give some advice in order to prevent Stark Enterprises from falling into the hands of Umbrella. But this does not mean that he has no resentment towards Obadiah. After all, the other party wanted to kill him before." Natasha looked at Tony's determined expression and said nothing more. Because she knew the other person's character well. He had a very stubborn temper, and once he made up his mind, no one could change it even with 10 bulls. "Chief Nick, I'm applying to arrest Shinjin Yashida." Nick was not a hesitant person and nodded immediately. "You will not have any support in this operation. Even if you fail and are killed, we will not be able to avenge you. I hope everything goes well for you." "Who said she doesn't have support? I'll go with her." At this time, a man in short-sleeved tights walked over from a distance. The other person was carrying a bow and arrow on his back and had a cold expression. Only when he looked at Natasha did he reveal a hint of tenderness. "This person is Patton." Natasha used to be an agent of the Red Room and one of the enhancers of the Black Widow project. Later, she was recruited by Barton to SHIELD, so the two have always had a good relationship. "I'll join in too." "Me too." Tony and Jean also spoke up. As for Charles, he knew that as a disabled person he couldn't help much, so he kept silent. Looking at the 4 people standing in front of him, Nick nodded with satisfaction. "Very good, then this arrest operation will be named Project Clear Sky. The ultimate goal is to capture Shinjin Yashida, ND the antidote to the zombie virus, and save millions of people." The 4 of them showed a determined look. Tokyo. The top floor of the Yashida Corporation building. The elderly Ichiro Yashida, looking at his white-haired and wrinkled face in the mirror, was LLED with fear of death. He is a veteran who survived World War II and is now in his 90s. He managed to survive with the help of modern medicines and machinery. But he could feel his vitality slipping away every day, and his body functions were getting worse day by day, which made him extremely anxious. A few months ago, After he learned from Masanobu Tanagawa that Umbrella had a way to prolong life, he began to contact the other party and inquire about the information. Finally he learned that Umbrella's latest T3 strengthening potion could restore a person's bodily functions to their peak, which was equivalent to restoring youth and prolonging life. However, the T3 is a product used by Umbrella itself and is not sold to the outside world. Furthermore, the control is extremely strict and there are no branches at all. Most importantly, Umbrella did not accept Nansing and was not even listed, so he could not contact Umbrella. So he chose to follow the path of Masanobu Tanagawa, began to contact the other party frequently, and provided money and resources to let the other party bribe the top management of the Umbrella branch. If he can't bribe them, he will assassinate them. Anyway, he wants to have complete control over the Tokyo branch. Of course, their Yashida company is a machinery and pharmaceutical company, so they are not good at assassination, so they turn to the Shuakai. So with the help of the hand, the Umbrella branch in Tokyo gradually fell into his control. Next, he just needs to ask Masanori Tanagawa to apply for the T3 potion from Umbrella headquarters. If not, you can obtain T2 and then research T3. Although he doesn't have much time left, he can still wait a few years. Dong dong. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Come in. As the door opened, two people, a man and a woman, appeared. Father. Grandfather. The two people were Shinjin Yashida and Mariko Yashida. What's the matter? Looking at his son and granddaughter in front of him, Ichiro Yashida's expression remained cold. To him, nothing in the world is more important than his own life. Shinjin Yashida said, Father, the top leaders of Sakura country just questioned me and asked us to hand over the antidote to the zombie virus. Don't pay attention to them. We don't have the antidote, and what does this zombie virus have to do with us? Yes, Father. Grandpa, we can't contact Masanobu Tanagawa recently. What? We can't get in touch with Masanobu Tanagawa? Have you looked for him at Umbrella? Compared with the top leaders of Sakura country, Ichiro Yashida cares more about the whereabouts of Masanobu Tanagawa. I sent people to Umbrella, but it seems that the security personnel of Umbrella were replaced all of a sudden, and they would not let our people in at all. Hearing this, Ichiro Yashida suddenly felt a strong sense of conspiracy. The outbreak of the zombie virus, the disappearance of Masanobu Tanagawa, and the changes in Umbrella. It's as if there is an invisible big hand manipulating everything. However, faced with the temptation of immortality, he immediately said, you guys go over and check it out immediately. You must ND Tanagawa Masanobu and ensure that Umbrella is normal. Yes. Seeing his son and granddaughter go out, Ichiro Yashida was just about to think about the possible mastermind behind this when he heard a boom sound outside. This immediately made him frown and look displeased. What's going on outside? As soon as he pushed the wheelchair out the door, he saw his son and granddaughter running towards him in panic. Father, it's bad. That Iron Man is coming with his men to kill us. Grandpa, let's run. I saw a big hole blown out on the top of the company outside, and then the red and white Iron Man down, followed closely by Phoenix, Black Widow, and Hawkeye. Faced with the invasion of 4 people, Yashida Company was not without security guards. However, these security guards armed with pistols were obviously no match for the 4 superheroes, and were quickly beaten back. Yashida Ichiro also said a little panicked, hurry, go to my CE. When Tony and others saw the target appear, they immediately rushed over to kill him. Yashida, we are arresting you on behalf of the Security Council. Yashida Shinjin, you can't run away. Hand over the antidote to the zombie virus. Chapter 46, Silver Samurai sets out. After Ichiro Yashida returned to the CE with his son and granddaughter, he immediately went to the bookcase, opened the mechanism, and revealed a Silver Samurai mecha that was more than 2 meters tall. Yashida Shinjin, the Silver Samurai. Shinjin Yashida understood what his father meant, and immediately ran to open the mecha and put it on. Seeing this, Mariko Yashida, who was standing next to her, had a strange look in her eyes. The Yashida family has always had a tradition of favoring boys over girls, so she has always been Looked down upon by her grandfather in the family. If her brother wasn't so incompetent and a complete playboy, it would never have been her turn to enter the company and take charge. But even so, many things in the company have always been kept secret from her. For example, she never knew about the Silver Samurai mecha. Whoa! After a burst of engine sounds, the Silver Samurai started up and drew out the two samurai swords. Behind him. Using the best technology to GHT the most primitive battle is exactly how the current situation is described. Ichiro Yashida used all the resources of the Yashida company to build the Silver Samurai mecha, but did not equip it with machine guns and shells. Instead, he used samurai swords and engaged in close combat. "Father, I'm ready." As soon as he finished speaking, the door of the OVCE exploded with a loud bang. "Yashida Shinjin, raise your hands." Tony entered the OVCE, but he soon noticed the Silver Samurai. "Oh, why are the enemies wearing mechas too? It seems your mecha has become a household name." At this time, Natasha walked in with a small pistol and a playful look on her face. Barton and Jean followed closely behind, but they didn't say anything. They just looked at the Silver Samurai with vigilance. "Mr. Stark, retreat now, we won't make things difficult for you." Tony had been a superhero in Sakura country for 3 days, so his identity had naturally become known to everyone. "Retreat? Unless you hand over the antidote to the zombie virus and go with me to the Security Council to stand trial, we will not leave. We don't have any antidote for the zombie virus." At this time, Shinjin Yashida felt aggrieved. They clearly don't know anything about the zombie virus, so why do they all say that it was created by their Yashida company? The top leaders of Sakura country misunderstood them, and Stark in front of them also misunderstood them. But they didn't do anything. "You don't have the antidote, do you?" "I told you, we don't have an antidote." "Damn it, you guys are researching the zombie virus, why don't you research the antidote?" I really didn't study the zombie virus, why don't you believe me?" At this time, Sheen said from the side, "Stark, stop talking nonsense with these criminals, let's go. Otherwise the support from Yashida company will come up." Before Shinjin Yashida could explain something, he saw Tony ring a palm cannon at him. Boom. The palm cannon that could penetrate 10 centimeters of steel plate did not even leave a single burn mark on the Silver Warrior. You have to know that the Silver Samurai was made of adamantium at a huge cost to Ichiro Yashida. Although it is only the outermost layer of skin, it cannot be shaken by the palm cannon. "This thing is a bit weird, let's do it together." As soon as Tony's voice fell, Barton shot the bow and arrow in his hand, still shooting at the weak joints of the Silver Warrior. But even at the weak joints, the arrow only made a ding sound, was bounced back, and fell to the ground. This guy has such a high defense. Seeing this, Natasha could only silently put away the two pistols in her hands, and then looked at Ichiro Yashida and Mariko Yashida. Not to mention Jean, who has not yet awakened the power of the Phoenix. Her strength is only slightly stronger than that of an ordinary person. She can only control objects weighing no more than 100 kilograms, and she cannot control others from a distance like Charles. So the main force this time still depends on Tony. When Shinjin Yashida saw that the negotiations had failed, he controlled the Silver Samurai and began to attack. I saw him wielding two huge samurai swords, each more than 1 meter long, with great power and majesty. Seeing this, Tony continued to re-palm cannons while dodging the attacks. Fortunately, Shinjin Yashida is just an ordinary person, and the reaction and speed of the Silver Samurai he controlled are far from reaching the peak, so he can't hit Tony for a while. As the Black Widow, Natasha took advantage of the fact that Shinjin Yashida was attracted to Tony and ran towards Ichiro Yashida. "I heard that the Sakura country values family and kinship the most. As long as they capture Yashida Ichiro, aren't they afraid that Yashida Shinjin will not surrender?" Ichiro Yashida immediately noticed Natasha running towards him, so he quickly pushed his wheelchair back. "Don't come over here." But how could a 90-year-old man in a wheelchair possibly outrun the Black Widow enhancer? He was quickly caught by Natasha, who then put a gun to his head. "Yashida Shinjin, stop it. Otherwise I will kill your father." Upon hearing this, Shinjin Yashida turned his head to look at Natasha and his kidnapped father, then continued to slash at Tony without saying a word. He felt that if he moved a little faster, he would be able to kill the annoying guy in front of him. Seeing that her threat was ineffective, Natasha poked Ichiro Yashida's temple with the muzzle of the gun. "Tell your son to stop, or I will shoot." "No, no, I'll tell him to stop now." Fearing death, Ichiro Yashida unsurprisingly chose to surrender. After all, he did so much for the sake of immortality, so how could he not cherish his own life? "Shinjin, Shinjin, stop it!" But no matter how he shouted, Shinjin Yashida ignored him and continued to attack Tony. And Tony was dodging very awkwardly. Although the Silver Warrior is relatively slow, his defense is high and cannot be broken. In addition, the space in the UFCE was limited and there was not much place for him to hide. Natasha was immediately dissatisfied when she saw that Shinjin Yashida didn't even care about his father's life. Isn't it said that people in Sakura country value feelings and family the most? I was fooled like a fool. For so many years. At this time, Chin came to her side. "I also saw a report saying that people in Sakura ush their toilets 7 times and can drink directly from them." "No, why would they drink toilet water?" Who knows?" Barton also came over and said, "Their toilet technology is so advanced, why don't they use it to purify nuclear wastewater?" This, maybe because they are worried about the core technology of toilet cleaning being leaked. Tony, who was kidding with Shinjin Yashida, was almost forced into a corner, so he couldn't help but say, "3 of you, stop studying the Sakura people's toilet ushing skills. It seems that they have reinforcements coming." A large number of Yashida Company security guards appeared at the stairs. These security guards have much more powerful repower than before. They are equipped with RIES, submachine guns, and even man-portable missiles. Chapter 47 The biggest weakness. Although the repower of these security guards has been improved by several levels, they still cannot change the fate of the small fry. Barton, who was helpless against the Silver Samurai, immediately drew his bow and shot. SHHHHHH. Several security guards who posed the greatest threat and were holding portable rockets were shot in the head instantly. The security guards looked at Ichiro Yashida, who was taken hostage, and were afraid to open So Natasha freed one hand and started shooting continuously. Bang bang bang. Chin controlled the objects around her and kept throwing them at her. For a moment, these security guards were suppressed and dared not show their heads. However, the appearance of these security guards is not without effect. At least Mariko Yashida took advantage of the chaos and escaped behind the security guards. "Quick, shoot." But faced with this order, the security guards were in a dilemma. On the other side, Tony's situation became more and more dangerous. At this time, Shinjin Yashida chopped with his left, forcing Tony into the corner, and then slashed across with his other samurai sword. Tony even saw a red light on the opponent's blade, as deadly as the Grim Reaper's scythe. He had just seen with his own eyes that the samurai sword cut through steel bars and concrete like tofu, and the armor he was wearing would definitely not be able to withstand a single blow. At this critical moment, Agur suddenly fell from the broken ceiling and pounced on the silver samurai. Tony also took this opportunity to escape from the corner and looked at the silver samurai. I saw a strong man about 1.9 meters tall with sharp claws in his hands, constantly grabbing at the Silver Warrior. However, those claws that could tear through steel did not even scratch the Silver Warrior's skin. After reacting, Shinjin Yashida immediately controlled the Silver Samurai to slash at him with the sword. A sound of tearing. An arm flew up instantly. The saber-toothed tiger, whose arm was cut off, immediately retreated. Just when Shinjin Yashida wanted to continue chasing, another gur fell from the ceiling. Ding ding. The claws made of adamantium nali left 2 scars on the Silver Warrior. But the next second, Logan was also knocked away by the Silver Warrior's hilt. "Who are you?" At this time, Tony helped Sabretooth up. He was full of good feelings towards the man who had his arm cut off in order to save him. "Victor, my name is Victor." After this period of treatment, Victor has regained the ability to speak and can remember his own name. Sabretooth is a nickname, Victor is his name. But other than these, I still can't remember anything else. Logan got up from the ground in a panic. "What are you guys still standing there for? Come on together." After saying that, he jumped towards the Silver Warrior, and at the same time stabbed Ursley with the sharp claws on his STS. But the next second, he was knocked away again by Shinjin Yashida. This time the opponent slashed at him with a blade, and Logan blocked it with his adamantium claws, thus avoiding being dismembered. Seeing this, Chin, who was not far away, immediately controlled the surrounding debris and threw it at the Silver Warrior. As for the effect, it can only be said that it blocks the opponent's sight and creates a favorable opportunity for teammates to attack. Barton took out an armor-piercing arrow, aimed at the possible weak point of the Silver Warrior, and shot. Ding ding ding. Unfortunately, the problem of weakness was taken into consideration when the Silver Samurai was manufactured, so the proportion of adamantium was thickened wherever the armor was weak. Even armor-piercing arrows would be ineffective. Seeing that armor-piercing arrows were useless, Patton switched to explosive arrows. There was a loud bang, but soon the unharmed gore of the Silver Warrior appeared at the spot. Seeing this scene, Patton instantly lost the desire to attack and turned to look at Mariko Yashida not far away. Natasha next to her also silently put away the pistol. At this time, Victor broke free from Tony's support. "I'm Annie. Let's go GHT. Tony looked reluctant and wanted to step forward and hold the other person back. After all, Victor looked so miserable at this moment. But in the next second, his pupils suddenly contracted. I saw that granulation tissue began to grow on Victor's broken arm, and it was wriggling rapidly. You're a mutant." This was his RST time to come into such close contact with a mutant, and he was greatly shocked to see the other party's arms growing rapidly. Victor took a few steps forward and rushed towards the Silver Warrior again. But the next second, he was knocked away again. Logan rushed over next and was also knocked away. Seeing these two strangers attacking so hard, Tony's heart was immediately touched. This kind of perseverance, the spirit of fearlessness and courage to move forward even when knowing that one cannot win, is exactly what he lacks. So even though he knew the palm cannon had no effect, he still launched the attack. Rumble. For a while, the ding was extremely erse. However, it can be seen that Shinjin Yashida relied on the Silver Samurai's invincible defense and fought 1 against 4, still suppressing everyone. And after persisting for a while, the situation changed. Victor was hit by the samurai sword again, breaking one of his legs and unable to launch an attack. Logan was the only one left, and he suddenly felt a huge pressure. "We will surely die if this continues." Patton scowled and raised the bow and arrow in his hand several times, but quickly put it down. At this moment, he hated his own powerlessness that he could not even penetrate the enemy's defense. Natasha suddenly spoke up at this time. "According to my observation, Shinjin Yashida's armor does not seem to have a shock-absorbing device." Patton was confused at RST, but he immediately realized what was going on and looked at the oar. "Tony, Jean, attack the ground." Natasha explained, "This set of Silver Warrior armor is extremely heavy and has no shock absorbers." Tony and Jean immediately understood what he said. So the palm cannon and the mind attack hit the ground. Rumble. With a burst of explosions, the oar was soon pierced and began to shake. "You despicable fellows! You are shameless!" Shinjin Yashida felt that the Silver Samurai was becoming increasingly unstable, and he suddenly began to panic. Just as Natasha thought, this set of Silver Samurai was all focused on defense, and even the attack could only be done in close combat. If it fell from a high altitude, the Silver Samurai would definitely be NE, but he inside would definitely be shocked to death. "Jarvis, full power on." As a powerful palm cannon was read, the ground nearly could not withstand the damage and collapsed. Rumble. No. With an unwilling roar, Shinjin Yashida fell down, and due to the weight of the Silver Samurai, a chain collapse occurred. As they stepped on each level, Shinjin Yashida soon disappeared. Without anyone noticing, Ichiro Yashida was shot in the forehead, and Mariko Yashida had disappeared. Chapter 48 New Discovery. When the collapse occurred on the opposite side, Patton and Natasha relied on their agility to hide in a safe place. Jean used her mental power to control herself to take off and did not fall. Tony's Mark V grabbed the injured Victor and Yu into the air. Only Logan actually fell with them. After a moment of panic, the dust settled slightly and everyone began to check the surrounding situation. Ichiro Yashida, who was in a wheelchair, was dead. However, because the other party has been old and weak in recent years, he has been hiding behind the scenes and not many people know about it. So when it came to the death of Ichiro Yashida, everyone just took a look and ignored it. However, Mariko Yashida was quite active, so everyone continued to look for her for a while. But it was only for a while, so I had to give up the search. Let's go down and see what the situation is. Yes, and we also need to end an antidote for the zombie virus. How are Victor's companions? Go and save them. A few minutes later, everyone arrived at the bottom floor of Yashida Company and saw a group of security guards surrounding the Silver Samurai. Boss, are you okay? President? President. The president is silent, we have you. At this time, someone noticed Tony and others coming down from above, so they immediately took out their pistols. Revenge for the president. Bang. Bang. Kill them. Boom. Because the number of enemies was too large, and the Sakura Country Self-Defense Force appeared outside. So after confirming that Shinjin Yashida was dead and ending Logan, everyone began to retreat. After 1 hour, in the aircraft carrier of SHIELD, Nick looked at everyone with a gloomy face. You killed Yashida, Shinjin? Didn't you say you were arresting him? Natasha and Barton didn't speak. Because they knew Nick's temper, he was just angry about Shinjin Yashida's death and didn't mean to blame them. But Tony didn't tolerate Nick's bad temper at all. He stood up and prepared to leave. But when he thought of Victor and Logan still receiving treatment in the infirmary, he nearly held back. He couldn't abandon these two people who saved his life. You have no idea how dangerous the situation was. Shinjin Yashida's Silver Samurai mecha had almost no weaknesses. If we don't kill him, we'll all die. Nick looked at Tony, who seemed to be going berserk, and said coldly, what about the antidote? What about the lives of millions of people on Kyushu Island? Tony really wanted to say that this had nothing to do with him. But when he thought of those horrible zombies, and the innocent women, old people, and children, he ended up keeping silent. The kindness and justice in his heart prevented him from ignoring the lives of millions of people. Seeing that Tony had temporarily given in, Nick decided to stop while he was ahead and looked at the others. Now the top leaders of Sakura Country and the self-defense forces are asking me to identify the murderer of Shinjin Yashida. You say, what should we do? Perhaps they should explain why an electrical and home appliance company would have such lethal equipment. At this moment, Charles's voice sounded from the door. I saw the other person sitting in a wheelchair, being slowly pushed in by Chin. Perhaps because he shared the bald man's affection, Nick nodded expressionlessly. Well, this excuse is good, but I don't know if it will be useful. For him, the death of Shinjin Yashida is not important, and the pressure from the top leaders of Sakura Country is not important either. The important thing is that you can take this opportunity to suppress Tony's temper so that you can use it to your own advantage in the future. It would be even better if Professor Charles could obey. This way, his Avengers team will have an extra general. The most important thing now is to end an antidote to the zombie virus. Even if we can't end an antidote, it's possible to end the original virus. Although it will waste some time, our professional scientists can also develop a vaccine or something. Natasha, Barton, I'll have to work hard for you to infiltrate the Yashida Company and look for the target. Yes. Professor Charles, thank you for your help in ending the research base of Yashida Company and the distribution of its personnel. Ken. Night. The sky was covered with dark clouds, making the entire Sakura Country look extremely depressing and dark. In the Yashida family, white cloth was hung everywhere at this time, and there were sounds of crying. However, Mariko Yashida did not wear the widow's black clothes. Instead, she wore a tight white short dress, held a cloth bag the size of a human basketball in her hand, and opened a hidden button on the wall. With a zzz sound of gear transmission, a door appeared on the wall of the bedroom. So she walked down slowly in her high heels. As the door of the secret room closed, the bedroom fell into darkness again. And in the secret room, a faint light came on. After walking down for a while, Mariko Yashida Nali arrived at her destination. It was a dark room with nothing around it. The next second, a projection fell from above, and the gore of a little girl in red clothes appeared. Mariko, how did the mission go? Hearing this somewhat mechanical sound, Mariko Yashida dropped the cloth bag in her hand, and after a rolling, a human head was revealed. Looking closely, it was the head of Masanobu Tanagawa. Here's the head. After saying that, she took out a palm-sized USB flash drive from her arms. Here is the formula for adamantium and the blueprint for the Silver Samurai. The Red Queen nodded in an anthropomorphic expression of satisfaction. Yes, Umbrella will do its best to help you seize control of the Yashida Corporation. After saying that, he lowered a data cable from the ceiling, inserted it into the USB drive, and read the data. Yashida Corporation attempted to seize Umbrella's T3, and Umbrella also had ideas about Yashida Corporation. May I ask where is the reward that the Lord promised? Don't worry, the T3 virus will be given to you as a reward, but now that the zombie virus has broken out in Sakura country, it may be a little late. In addition, the master has another task for you. Please give your orders. When you become the president of Yashida Corporation, the master will give you the antidote to the zombie virus. You should take this opportunity to join the government and run for the position of head of state. When she heard about the position of head of state, Mariko Yashida's whole body trembled slightly. And her eyes were full of desire and expectation. But she was a little unsure. But there has never been a precedent of a woman being the head of state in Sakura country. Don't worry, the US military will support the people's votes when the time comes. Even if the people object, it won't work. Hearing this, Mariko Yashida immediately knelt down on one knee. Everything is subject to the Lord's orders. 3 days later. On the shield aircraft carrier above Sakura country. A group of people looked dejected and worried. Why can't we ND the antidote to the zombie virus? Yeah, not even the original virus. Could it be that our intelligence is really wrong, and it wasn't done by Yashida Company? Impossible, we have verified through multiple sources. Just when everyone was at a loss, Charles suddenly pushed the door open. Everyone, I have a new discovery. Chapter 49 Suspicion and Doubt. According to my interrogations, I found that the drugs these drug dealers got from a man called Hyena. This hyena was actually read by Yashida Company more than a month ago. After hearing what Charles said, everyone was stunned. Could it be that they really made a mistake in the intelligence? No one would doubt what Charles said. Because everyone knows that the so-called interrogation by the other party is to directly read the brain memory. Even a professionally trained agent would not be able to lie in front of Charles. Can you ND this hyena? It was Tony who asked the question. Charles shook his head regretfully at this question. I didn't ND his spiritual power. Perhaps, he is dead. In conspiracies like this, it is common for people on the street to be silenced. So he didn't think that the hyena could still be alive. But I think we can think differently. There are only a few companies in this world that can research zombie viruses. Seeing everyone silent, Jean spoke from behind Charles. Umbrella Denightly has the ability. Hearing this, Tony immediately knew what Charles meant. It's nothing more than wanting to use the power of SHIELD to investigate Umbrella. He didn't say anything about this. After all, with Umbrella's power, it does have this ability. And in his opinion, Umbrella was not in a good position either. Upon hearing this, Nick looked at Charles and Jean with a slightly strange look. With his intelligence capabilities, he knew every detail about Charles and Jean on the afternoon they arrived at SHIELD. At the same time, he also knew that the other party seemed to have some grudge with Umbrella, and even approached Tony for this. Otherwise, according to Charles's philosophy of non-interference with the world, he would not help them, and he would not be so proactive. After a moment of silence, Natasha suddenly spoke up. There are also Osborne Enterprises, AIM, Trask Industries, and so on. There are even quite a few in other countries, such as the Red House base in the Northern Bear Country, the Security Investigation Bureau in the Dragon Country, the Round Table Knights Conference in the Sunset Empire, and so on. After hearing so many forces and companies suspected in one breath, Charles was silent for a while. It is obviously unrealistic to ask SHIELD to investigate so many forces at once. Thinking of this, he suddenly looked at Logan and Victor beside him. With the help of the self-healing factor, these two people have recovered. Logan, how did you escape after being captured by Umbrella? Logan felt angry when he saw Charles suddenly suspected him. What do you mean? Are you doubting me? Don't you like snooping into other people's minds? Come on, come in, and take a look and you will know. As he spoke, he pointed to his head. He looked as if he had been insulted and was very angry. In fact, in his memory, he had gone through a lot of hardships to escape from Umbrella. Then, I came here because I suddenly remembered that I seemed to have a daughter in Sakura country. And saving Tony seemed like a complete coincidence. Seeing how excited the other person looked, Charles began to doubt his own judgment. Could it be that they were really not sent by Umbrella? Don't be angry, kid. I just want to ask you what you saw in Umbrella. Maybe it can help us. After hearing this explanation, Logan immediately turned his head away angrily and ignored the other party. Actually, it's strange that he didn't remember what he saw in Umbrella, nor did he remember how he escaped. I only remember that I escaped, but I forgot the details. Seeing that Logan was not cooperating with him, Charles turned to look at Victor. Mr. Victor, do you remember seeing other people in Umbrella? For example, other kidnapped mutants? Victor shook his head. Forgotten. Dong dong. Seeing that Charles seemed to want to ask something else, Nick knocked on the table, looked at him with his remaining eye, and said coldly, okay, let's not worry about Umbrella for now. Natasha, Barton, Tony, Logan, Victor, Jean, your mission now is to ND out where this hyena is. If you are alive, you want to see people, if you are dead, you want to see corpses. Yes. Night. Northern Bear Country, suburbs of Moscow. There were not many pedestrians on the road at this time, only some people who worked overtime. Until night were still walking on the road. After a while, a luxury car suddenly stopped on the pedestrian street and opened its door. Two sturdy men about 1.89 meters tall and wearing black suits came out RST and looked around. Everything is safe, Ms. Luna, please get off the car. A 10-centimeter red high-heeled shoe appeared RST, followed by a pair of thighs of moderate size. Wrapped in black stockings. Just this leg makes people feel so sexy. Then, Luna came out wearing a black pencil skirt and a small suit. Looking at the dirty environment around her, Luna frowned slightly. Red Queen, are you sure the person we are looking for is here? According to the address provided by the Northern Bear Country, it's here. 1375, Vodka Road. Okay, then I'll go look for number 1375. After saying that, she took a step forward. Because she was followed by two bodyguards who looked tough, no foolish thugs came to provoke her. But after walking for a while, when they were about to ND number 1375, a man in a windbreaker, whose face could not be seen clearly, suddenly appeared in front of them. Miss, this place is forbidden to enter. Who are you? It doesn't matter who I am. What matters is that Americans are not welcome here. After saying this, the other party showed his ID. Special Department Management Bureau of the Northern Bear Country. At this time, several men in windbreakers appeared around. Judging from the way they put their right hands in their windbreakers, it was obvious that they were carrying weapons. This immediately made Luna confused. This time, the person her boss asked her to ND was just a guy who was kicked out of Stark Enterprises. He had a very bad reputation and was said to have stolen Stark Enterprises technology. Why is it that the Northern Bear Country attaches so much importance to it? I'll make a call. She took out her cell phone and called a senior executive she knew in the Northern Bear Country. After a while, she hung up the phone with a bad look on her face. These vampires are all going to be extorted. The cell phone of the man in the windbreaker opposite him soon rang. 10 seconds later, the man in the windbreaker silently put down his phone and left without saying a word. Before leaving, he waved to others and left together. Interesting, what kind of person is this that my boss asked me to ND? If Li Feng were here, he would naturally understand how it is possible that a former core scientist Researcher of Stark Enterprises could be left alone like this. For commercial use, there may be some patent protection, which makes it difficult to use, but for military use, who cares about these? Chapter 50 Ivan joins. Dong dong. After a knock on the door, there was a long wait. Not sure if the owner was not in or didn't hear her, Luna knocked on the door a few more times before it was opened. A very slovenly man appeared behind the door. The other person had long hair, which was full of oil stains and a foul smell because it had not been taken care of for a long time. At the same time, he was wearing clothes full of holes and smelled strongly of alcohol. The slovenly man looked Luna up and down, then asked coldly, "What's the matter?" "I'm here to see Mr. Anton Vanko. My father is dead." Boom. After saying that, the other party closed the door. Perhaps other people would not be able to resist chatting more when they see a beautiful woman like Luna. But to him, beauties were not as interesting as machines. Instead of spending time chatting with women, you might as well do more research. Dong dong. Luna knocked on the door again. Then the door was opened again, revealing the other party's impatient look. "Anything else? Besides your father, we are also looking for you, Ivan Vanko." When Ivan heard his name, his brows furrowed. "What do you want from me?" "On behalf of Umbrella, I would like to hire you as the chief engineer of the engineering department." "Not interested in." Seeing that the other party was about to close the store again, Luna immediately said, "We have shares in Stark Enterprises." Hearing this, Ivan paused and looked at the other person coldly. "What do you mean?" "Since we have come to you, we naturally know about the feud between you and Stark Enterprises. And it just so happens that we also have a grudge against Stark Enterprises." When Ivan heard this, his expression nearly improved slightly, and then he looked the other person up and down carefully. "What's the grudge between you two?" Luna smiled slightly and then told the story of Obadiah. After hearing this, Ivan's attitude improved a little, but he did not reply to Luna immediately. Instead, he said, "Come back tomorrow," and closed the door again. It's not that he didn't believe Luna's words, but he wanted to verify it online himself before making a decision. After all, he had no idea what kind of company Umbrella was. After returning to the car, Luna began to report the situation to Li Feng. After listening to her, Li Feng just asked her to go again tomorrow and did not give any new instructions. For him, it would be best if Ivan Vanko could be hired, but it doesn't matter if he can't. After all, he already has the arc reactor technology, and with his own Scientist research team, he will be able to develop the miniaturization technology sooner or later even without any guidance. So there is no need to waste too much time and resources on this. As for why he didn't look for the other party before, it can only be said that before cooperating with the Northern Bear Country, he could not get close to Ivan Vanko. The Northern Bear Country will not allow a top scientist to leave like this. Even if the scientist has a bad reputation, he may not have much Scientist research ability. Time slowly passed until the next morning. Luna came to visit number 1375 again. This time, Ivan's attitude was obviously much better, and he even took the initiative to invite Luna to come in and sit down. However, Luna was obviously not interested in this messy place, and just invited the other party to join. Umbrella again. Ivan agreed readily, but needed some time to pack his things. So Luna left a few people behind to serve the other party and then left. After all, she still had a lot of things to do, and it was impossible for her to waste time here with him. The base in Khabarovsk City had already started construction, and she had to personally keep an eye on the excavation of the underground base. This is an important project related to future human cloning research, so we must not be careless. There is also the recruitment of workers, negotiations with material suppliers, road maintenance, etc. A week later. On an aircraft carrier ying over Sakura country. At this time, the sun began to disappear in the west and the sky gradually darkened. Suddenly a red and white gur landed on the deck, then opened the mask, revealing Tony. After taking off his armor, Tony picked up the Mark V in his hand and walked inside. When he arrived at the meeting room, he found that everyone was already there. "Tony, any clues?" Seeing Tony shaking his head, Nick was not disappointed, but continued, It seems that this hyena is likely dead. Then our next step is to focus on Yashida Mariko and the hand. Mariko Yashida. Tony was confused. He understood the situation in the context of the hand. After all, it was an evil force, and it might be related to the zombie virus. But what does this have to do with Mariko Yashida? In his impression, the other person was a weak-looking little girl who was also pretty and didn't seem like a bad person. Seeing everyone's puzzled looks, Nick nodded. We all seem to have looked down upon this woman. After his father's death, the other party took control of the Yashida company very quickly with an iron-blooded hand. Those executives and shareholders who disobeyed her all suffered accidents, either car accidents or infection with the zombie virus. I suspect she may be related to the mastermind behind the zombie virus. Otherwise, it would be impossible to explain why the zombie virus RST leaked from Yashida Corporation. After hearing this, everyone fell silent. But soon, everyone turned their attention to Charles. After all, the other party can read other people's memories. Whether this Yashida Mariko has any connection with the zombie virus, the other party will know by reading the memory. But facing everyone's gaze, Charles just nodded slightly. I'll Andy a chance to get close to her tomorrow and take a look at her memory. Okay, that's settled then. The rest of you will look for clues about the hand tomorrow. Nick nodded, and just as he was about to announce the end of the meeting, a bell rang. Jingle bell. Tony gave an apologetic smile and immediately pulled out his cell phone. Sorry, pick up the phone. Hey, Pepper, what's up? Let me go back, what's wrong? Hold a shareholders meeting? Oh, I see. Before I knew it, almost a month had passed. It is time for Stark Enterprises to hold a shareholders meeting again to decide the future of Stark Enterprises. After hanging up the phone, Tony looked at Nick. I need the support of your equity. Nick naturally wouldn't refuse Tony's request. Okay, I'll let Carlson go with you. Leave this to us. After more than 10 days of siege, the zombie virus on Kyushu Island has been effectively controlled. All roads and bridges are RMLY guarded by the US military and the Sakura Country Self-Defense Forces to ensure that no zombies escape. As for how to deal with the millions of zombies on Kyushu Island, we have to wait for the United Nations General Assembly to discuss and come up with a result. After all, no one knows whether these zombies can be restored to human form. If it can be restored, the person who gave the order to open Re will be a sinner for all eternity in the future.